everybody, Pat Kilner here with John Kirk once again. This is becoming a weekly occurrence. John, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So today we're going to highlight a little area in maybe your neck of the woods. Again, keep the suggestions coming. We love to hear from you on what it is you want us to talk about. One of the big topics that's come up a lot has been two things. One is marketing, and the other is what we do from a negotiation standpoint when a house is on the market. In particular, the system that we use to vet financing. So, we talk about ourselves as a marketing company, right? Mm-hmm. And that really is a hat that we have to wear when we put a house on the market, right? You're not just getting some agent who happens to throw some marketing at a house. It's truly a marketing company, and we wear that hat real well. But today, I'd really like to focus on that financing vetting part of this because I think it's so tremendously important. The opportunity cost of a house going back on the market is so costly. Yeah. Can you talk to that? As a seller, what should I be looking for in terms of the negotiation tactics that they're looking for?
Well, thanks. And I think it's really great to talk through this because I think people take for granted that you're going to market a property well these days. Although you can go on to any of these listings, even $1 million listings, and you can see someone that went around with their iPhone and took pictures. Yep. Some agents many agents are still doing that, and that's unfortunate. And I think that's one of the questions you ask your potential listing agent right away. How are you going to market my property? That's a huge piece of that, right? Sure. But the other side of this is, okay, you're designed from a marketing standpoint to get an offer. That's the whole impetus. This is why you market a property, to get an offer, or 2 or 3 or 10.
It's
right?
really to drive demand.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what we do. But then it very quickly changes from, oh my gosh, this is an intense negotiation. Yeah. And I think that's the part where you want to focus on. And particularly, we have a lot of systems that are in place. But particularly, you want to talk about financing. I do think that's the biggest piece. Honestly, I think that's the biggest reason why people refer me.
Interesting.
We want to know, and we want to be reasonably sure that when we lock up a deal, that's going to go all the way to settlement. Now, you got to get through home inspection, you got to get through appraisal, but what does that financing piece look like from the buyer? We don't know, right? So that's part of what I spend a lot of time on and really diving into that.
So talk to me about what that looks like. I mean, you're receiving offers. You're trying to figure out who the best person is for your sellers to ratify with, because frankly, you want to know today what could become a problem 20 days from now. Yeah. Right? When they finally submit all of that paperwork into underwriting at your average bank. Right. So talk to me about what that looks like. What are you doing? What are you digging into?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that you try to dig into is what the motivation is. And so you understand from a financing standpoint, if somebody comes to you and they put a lot of money down in an earnest money deposit, say on a $600,000 house, people are putting down $25,000, right? And you got another guy who's writing on that same house who is a zero down, no money down loan. Which are out there, and they put in a $500 deposit, right? So right away, the financing can take shape and help you think critically about these offers. And on the reverse side, on the buy side, if you're going to go buy a property that you need to win out over another offer, a zero down, payment kind of thing is going to be really hard for you to win versus the guy who's going to step up and put $25,000 down. So the first piece of it is really kind of obvious. You get all these offers in, all of a sudden, one guy who writes $25,000 earnest money check, that's a guy who's going to get our attention right away.
Sure. But it doesn't necessarily mean that his financing is going to go through.
Exactly.
So what are you looking for as you're talking to the lender and really trying to understand what this is, what this might look like down the road?
And that's the first piece, right? The first piece is earnest money. Then you're talking about, okay, what type of loan do they have and so on and so forth. But then you really want to understand the nitty gritty. Who is the buyer? Yeah. We don't know the buyer from anybody, right? I mean, very few deals do you know who's on the other side of that. Sure. You don't know. So it's our job, it's my job to really figure out who that buyer is from a financing standpoint. How much money do they make, right? Like and you've done this, we've all done this. We've gone to a bank and said, hey, I want to buy a house. They'll ask you, how much money do you make? You'll tell them, they'll pull your social security number, run your credit, and boom, here's a letter coming off of the printer. Sure. Well, actually, they're not doing their homework in many cases until after you're locked up in a contract.
Absolutely.
That's unfortunate, right? So we need to understand right away what kind of homework the lender is doing on that deal. So have they looked at their W-2s? Have they looked at their bank statements? Have they looked at their tax returns? What kind of other assets do they have?
Yeah.
Are they getting a gift?
Yeah.
Are they getting a gift?
Mom and dad involved in.
Yeah, mom and dad. And by the way, and is that gift coming from a foreign country, right? Are they self-employed? All these questions help to frame out whether or not we're going to accept an offer or not.
And we know a good lender is going to respond really positively to that, right? Because if they've done their homework, then we've vetted through, and you'll call of 10 lenders, how many would you say have really done their homework when you call them?
Yeah, I mean, in today's market, I would say at least 6 and 10.
Yeah.
You're gonna get somebody good, but in many cases, it's really easy to go in and get a pre-qual letter from a place where you have an account.
Sure.
And that whole pre-qualification letter is not really worth that much, and they're not doing their homework at the bank until after there's a ratified contract. Here's what all this leads to. If you're in a situation where we accept an offer,
Yeah.
and then the bank goes 3 weeks later and they start looking at their due diligence, right?
Sure.
Finding out about W-2s and bank statements.
Finally gathering that information.
Finally getting it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Something then comes up and allows them to not purchase the house.
Yeah.
And so then I get a call from the agent, potentially, right? And that agent says, hey, just want to let you know they're not going to qualify for financing. Well, what could we have done in the very beginning to eliminate that phone call altogether?
Because when you go back on the market doesn't believe that you've had a financing issue. They think there's probably something wrong with the house.
That's right.
So the opportunity cost of having to go back on the market after you've gone under contract, by the way, everybody's seen that. All of the information is open source.
Yeah.
So the market is not going to typically receive that very well.
Right, and you will never attain the same price point on the second time around.
Yeah.
Because you are sort of damaged in a way online from a marketing perspective, which is what we talked about first.
Sure.
So that marketing piece actually does feed into what you have from a financing standpoint.
You know, we always say that marketing is really the precursor to great negotiations, right? The more that you can affect demand in the marketplace, the more bullish you can be because you're really actually affecting behavior through marketing. Well, this has been great. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
So let's talk really quick. I know that you've been studying a few neighborhoods. What's your pick of the week? What's the neighborhood that you've been sort of most fascinated by?
I've got something coming on in Damascus actually, and school system's really good in there as well, as many people know.
Yeah.
But I would say there's a neighborhood called Clear Spring Manor, and that is a very nice neighborhood, and values are increasing in there as well. But you get a little bit of land, you get a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot home, and it's pretty affordable. Access to major roads and infrastructure that way, shopping and all that, and so that's.
But just in terms of real value, there, you feel like pound for pound. Really great buy.
Absolutely, really great buy, and I've got something coming up next week that's going to be really interesting for people to look at as well.
Fantastic.
So
great, John. Thanks again.
thanks, Pat. Really appreciate being
Thanks
here.
everybody for watching.
So,
We'll see you next week.
thanks.